Hi, welcome to Guitar Player Online. My name's Terry Carleton. I write a column for the magazine called Whack Job. And today we're going to be talking about not one but two whack jobs. We're going to be talking about this guitar, this Frankencaster, if you will, named Jade, and this rotating speaker unit named Leslie. And both were put together and assembled by my friend Dave Stein from the Starving Musician.
Hi.
And so we're going to talk about some of the technical aspects of the Frankencaster and the torn out rotating speaker unit out of Grandma's organ. But before we talk about it...
Very painful.
Grandma's
she
organ.
She screamed for hours.
And but before we talk about the technical aspects, I just want you to hear it. First of all, I'm going to be playing this guitar through this Fender Supersonic amp and this bad cat speaker cabinet. And we have one microphone here that's catching both the amp signal and the rotating speaker signal. First, no rotating speaker. Rotating speaker. So you can hear the difference. It's a rotating speaker. It's not a coarse pedal. It's an analog deal with a real moving object. So Dave, what sorts of things did you have to do to this little beast in order to make it work through an amplifier?
Well, when I got it from you, it had a wire harness that had been hooked up to the organ to operate it, and
Right.
I had to find out where the heck the wires went and what they did.
Right.
Now, we did the simplest, I,
Yeah.
with your assistance, did the simplest setup we possibly could. In fact, there are two motors on this to go two different speeds. Honestly, kids, I couldn't figure out how to hook up the second motor, so rather than do that, we just used the on-off switch to give it a varying speed.
So this isn't a speed control, it's just an on and off.
It's an on-off switch that turns the motor off.
And
so what you have is two 6-inch speakers, Terry?
yeah.
6, yeah.
No bigger, maybe
two
smaller.
little 6-inch transistor radio speakers,
Yeah.
relatively low wattage. And what you're doing basically is feeding a signal in from the amplifier into this and rotating the speaker, and you have the beautiful rotating speaker sound. It's pretty cool. Very simple to do, but you got to be careful when you're doing it. There is a possibility of some shock. Just watch your P's and Q's. Basically what you're doing is you're only turning the motor off and on, so it's not that big a deal. And this is just a plug-in, so it's relatively simple.
So this foot pedal, you got at a hardware store?
I got it at good old Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight.
And it was around
Yeah.
$15. I checked for other switches like that, and they ran a whole bunch more, and this is absolutely fine. Works
Well,
out great.
and it's cool too because it seems like when I watch Hammond B3 players play, the sweet spot in the Leslie is not necessarily when it's fast or slow, but when it's speeding up, amping up, or amping down.
There's the emotion. Yeah.
And so it takes a long time for it to speed up and to slow down. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of sweet spot. So if you ever watch one of the great B3 players, they always have their hand on that switch. Hearing it speed up, it's just so fun. And then slow down. Now, in case you're wondering, it also works with distortion quite well, and so I'm going to demonstrate that now. Speaker. There you have it.
Terry, I did forget to mention something?
Yes.
You also have to wire up the speakers, which would be a really good idea, because if you didn't do that, nothing would happen.
Well, there's a wiring harness,
Yes.
and it's not really obvious what wires are which. There's like 8 different leads. So some go to change the speed of the motors, switch the motors. Some send AC, and some send
What was that?
AC. Well, that's what I'm saying. The wiring harness is complicated, so you like use some sort of continuity tester. There's the speakers. No,
That's a speaker out.
that's the speaker out right there.
That's
Right,
a speaker out,
right.
which makes it relatively simple. But
Right.
there's very little to
And then you install this 1/4-inch jack here.
install the 1/4-inch jack so you can plug it right into the back of your amplifier. This is not a high wattage setup. It is a low wattage setup. It is recommended, as Terry has written, for studio work, excuse me, or for maybe a blues band, relatively low volume. If you turn it up, there is a possibility of blowing these speakers. You have to be careful. But if you can take it right to the edge, it sure sounds great.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
more
cool.
of a recording rig, but we're playing at a reasonable volume right now.
Yeah.
But it's sort of a studio thing. I want to talk a little bit about the guitar here, this Frankencaster. One of the things I like about it is that it's mostly used parts that I found on eBay. This is a fender body, a Mighty Mite neck, Q parts pick guard. I got the lipstick style pickups from Tricked Out Guitars, locking clousons. And then I threw the whole thing in a box and I handed it to my friend Dave here, who built the guitar for me. Dave, were there any challenges, or did it come together pretty easily? Or
The only real challenge is, and it's not that big a deal to anybody who's had any experience taking apart a Stratocaster, is that the holes have to line up correctly for the neck, and the neck has to be lined up correctly. Alignment is everything in these assemblies.
for intonation, of course.
For intonation,
Yeah.
for everything, for not having the strings fall off the fingerboard.
Right.
Other than that, it's basically wood screws and a soldering iron, and you're good to go. The guitar, you never know when you put a guitar together at different parts what it's going to sound like.
Right.
This guitar happens to be, it's sort of, excuse the phrase, magical. It's very, very sweet sounding.
It really is. I like how it came together.
It outstrats a Strat sound. It's wonderful tone. Really cool.
You can read about this guitar in the November issue of 2013, I believe, and we talk about the real specifics of all the different parts and so forth, and what we paid for it, which was very little. It was a real fun project. Not all Frankenstrats come together so
Very
well,
true.
but this one plays and sounds wonderful, especially if you put it through a rotating speaker. And so there you have it. If you want to add that rotating speaker sound to your home setup, not necessarily your gig rig, but your home setup, this is the way to go. And maybe, what are we out? $50 tops. Good luck.